Hello everyone, this is KillCam. We're talking H1Z1 today in a base design I like to call it elevator base. Look at this small sample base I threw up in just a few hours with the help of a couple of clan members. As you can see, for all intents and purposes, this ground tamper has a 3-story high roof. From inside to the H1Z1 noob, there appears no legitimate way in the world to get up to these rooms without using hacks. The only way even the owner of the base has to get up there is to place a lookout tower to climb up. Pull it back within 30 seconds to maintain the previous secure state of having no stairs to ascend. It used to be a viable option for a solo player, but if you live with a group of players and you are not online for things to be placed in your base, they were stuck at ground level like everyone else. Thanks to Daybreak Games' recent addition to the game of a base permission system though, you can now share an elevator base with anyone you want by giving them placement permission on the ground tamper. When you get up into your enhanced height roof rooms, you pull back the lookout tower you climbed to get up and the base is secure again. This arrangement is a whole lot more secure than the naked floating bases that seem to have become popular recently in H1Z1. The area below your floating shelters is enclosed, and you can utilize the space for farming, car storage, or whatever other purpose you like. I suppose the natural next question people might have is, how to do something like this? First thing you do is place a ground tamper down. If you don't care about getting the roof perfectly aligned with the tamper's grid so you can do things like have a floor in the interior by leaving upper level tamper shelters up in the middle, that's an example, you can wall in the tamper like I did. For perfect alignment though, you might want to try this with metal gates up first. The gates can be clipped through during placement so you can align the edges perfectly where the walls will be. No matter what you do though, the basic idea is to line up the deck foundation's corner with one of the corners of the ground tamper where the walls will be. Even if you're not interested in perfect alignment, you still want to get the deck foundation as close to the edges as possible and square it up with the tamper. Line up the top of your screen with the flat top of the tamper before you click place. Get the deck as close to the edges as possible and you're good to continue. Next thing you're going to do is place 2 foundation expansions to give your deck foundation a 4x4 unit footprint just like the 4x4 ground tamper. Notice that because I walled in this tamper first instead of using metal gates, I'm going to be a little off with the alignment. For this little demonstration base, it's not a big deal as I don't plan on doing anything fancy with it, it's just a basic enhanced height roof. Just keep in mind though, if you want perfect alignment, you have to start out with gates, otherwise you will always have this tiny offset that will be annoying if you want to do interior construction on the ground tamper's second floor, unless you get very lucky and you can get a deck foundation placement that raises the height of the bottom of the deck's second floor over the top of the height of the ground tamper's second floor shelters. Usually it won't happen though, so you will get some clipping if you aren't perfectly aligned. Start placing those shelters down so you can stack the upper level shelters where you want them. This is where I suggest using gates to do this instead of walls. You may have to demolish metal walls that clip into the shelters you're going to place. Here, I did not care about wasting metal and wood, so I just demolished whatever got in my way. If you are not rich in resources though, this is wasteful to do. Bottom line though is that however you do it, you want to place your upper level shelters how you want them. In this case, a simple ring around the perimeter of the ground tamper. Alright, now you want the deck foundation to despawn, so start demolishing those first floor shelters when you're done placing upper level shelters. When the deck is totally bare, it will despawn in an hour to 5 minutes. When the deck's gone, you'll still have the upper level floating shelters left. Use the hour to gather up the material to wall in your ground tamper completely with metal walls and upper level metal walls, and you have the basic elevator base done and ready for moving in. If you lined up the deck foundation well enough with the ground tamper edges, you even have the option of installing second story shelters to act as a floor for third level shelters. You just have to remember to leave yourself an opening through which to elevator up to your third story shelters with a lookout tower, but otherwise, it's great if you lined it up well enough to pull this off. You can also use floating sleeping mats for floors if you don't care about the extra maintenance with a repair hammer. Remember that everything you place that becomes a floating object not connected to a deck or tamper needs to be repaired individually. This aside though, even if this base were raided and the floating shelters were blown up from below by placing explosives on the roof of a car, the containers in the room are so high off the ground it might require jumping to loot them. For a truly secure and as far as I know, unlootable and thus effectively unraidable storage option, Place storage containers on the top of the roof of the 3rd floor, and put something indestructible on the ground tamper like a repair box to prevent raiders from leveling the tamper to cause it to despawn and replace it with their own deck or tamper. If you do that, unless the enemy can fly, there's just no way to get so high into the air, and they just cannot have whatever you put up on the roof. Make a bunker with furnaces to have cover while you're up there, and it's just about perfect. That's all for this edition of Kill Cam Update. If you liked the video, do me a favor and mash that like button below and make a comment. We're well on the road to 5,000 subscribers, so if you aren't one already, help push us over that 5K milestone and hit that subscribe button for me too, and activate those notifications. This is Kill Cam letting you know that just because the building system in H1Z1 is limited, it doesn't mean your base builds have to be.